Namaste, hi. Today we will be speaking about mindfulness and try to understand a bit about what this concept means and why it is important to practice mindfulness. As we generally understand by the term, mindfulness is an art of keeping the mind in the present moment. Most of the struggles that we have with the mind is that it lives in the past and broods over it, or it jumps to the future and stays anxious or excited about it. There is one aspect of our mind that we would want to understand, is that mind works on impressions. Impressions are kind of tendencies that we keep repeating it with. So even if we do intend to practice mindfulness by keeping it in the present, unless we actually practice moments of being aware of the present, we will not be able to actually incorporate it in practical life. We know that the mind works in three zones. One is the past, the other is the present, and then is the future. Mindfulness is meant to give us the strength and the power to focus our energies completely on the present moment. The present moment, in fact, is a moment that is fearless, that is clear, and that is free from any sort of anxiety or uncertainty. This anxiety or uncertainty always happens when the mind goes back and forth. So about impressions, unless we imprint the practice of mindfulness in the present moment, even thinking about it or even understanding about it will not do much good, because in our minds we have created enough impressions of going back and brooding over it, or getting euphoric about some events, or going to the future and being uncertain or anxious about. So we have impressions of that. Now we've got to counter it by an impression in the mind of keeping the focus and keeping the awareness in the present moment. So mindfulness by theory is great to hear, but it is far more important that we actually implement them. In every little effort that we make in implementing mindfulness, there's a small tip that I would like to give in today's talk. This tip is about being aware of the past and the future whenever they spring up in the mind. For example, if we are having a task at hand that we are doing, maybe we are writing a draft, or we are probably cooking, we usually in those moments allow our mind to drift and stay afloat. Even if we are well versed in the act, we would still believe that we do not need to keep more focus. Now, maybe the act does demand certain attention, but after that attention to complete the task is over, we allow the mind to drift. Now, in a small tip of practicing mindfulness, we can try to ensure that even if the attention needed for the task is done with, we still keep our focus on the task in hand. Suppose if I'm writing a draft, even if I have written the draft and composed the content necessary for it, I still keep my awareness in the present moment by watching my hands, by watching the environment around me, but not allowing the mind to drift. In case, we could even if I'm cooking, or even if I'm cutting vegetables, I do cut the vegetables, and after I'm done cutting the vegetables and I'm supposed to cook, I do not allow the mind to drift. I keep my mind while I'm cutting the vegetables to ensure that I'm cutting them precisely, and after that, when I move from cutting the vegetables to cooking, I still keep my mind in the environment around the place. I do not allow it to drift. Just like that, whenever we do so, we are naturally going to be influenced by the impressions of the past and the anxiety or excitement of the future. Whenever they come, we have to create stronger impressions of being in the present, but if they are overwhelming and whenever certain memories come, we should take note of what the nature of the memories are, or what the nature of projections or imaginations of the future is. So mindfulness is usually sabotaged by memories or by imaginations. We should take a stock of what kind of memories or imaginations come before our mind. Maybe we would be able to deal it then and there, but if it's not, we should possibly keep them in our mind or write them somewhere, but never allow them to passively drift away from our consciousness. Because drifting away in memories or drifting away in imaginations is another big problem that stands in the path of mindfulness practice. So one is, if there are random memories or random imaginations that come into our mind, we should, with the power of will, keep the mind focused on the present moment. But if there are pressing memories or active memories and involving or engaging imaginations, we should take note of what is the nature of that. Suppose if it's a past where there is something that is painful, we should take note of that. And suppose if there is something of the past that is exciting but is recurring again and again, we should take note of that. If there's an imagination that has something to do with what becomes of me in the future, yes, we should take note of that. But there are fleeting ones which, with the power of mental will, we should be able to brush it aside. But the ones that we do take note of, we should revert back to them in moments of contemplation or meditation, or in an engagement with somebody that we feel comfortable to talk to, and resolve them. The impression that's created here is that in the next time we practice mindfulness, any point of memory or any projection of imagination will be notified that we are not going to be influenced by them, that we are going to tackle them. And also at the same time, we should be able to keep our mind focused in the task in hand the next time we practice mindfulness, because we are almost aware of the impressions that rise up of the past, and we are also aware of the impressions that are to come, imaginations that are to come in the future. Once we are aware and we are clear about it, at that time again we should still be focusing and keeping our mind in the present moment. With these bits of practices that we do, we should create impression in the mind of being able to stay in the present moment. This present moment is the gateway to freedom, and it is also the gateway to mental wellness, where we get stronger and stronger in having clarity and conscience in its right place whenever we are engaged, or even when we are sitting silently. And that way we bring the mind slowly within our control, and after a while we will be in a position to accommodate or get involved with any impressions of our choice. But till we do not have a choice, we should learn to have a control of the past and the future when we are engaged in any work. And the best way to practice mindfulness, apart from meditation, yes, but the best way to practice mindfulness is to be engaged in any work and keep the whole focus and awareness in that particular work. Thank you for your time. Thank you.